The night my daughter's cry cut through the glass, and money and titles I learned how small a billionaire can feel, Chicago glittered under my window, like a promise I couldn't cash. And in my arms, 6 pounds of brand new life was losing a fight. I didn't know how to win, you know what I mean. 3 days into fatherhood, and I couldn't get my kid to eat. That's the hook, that's the truth, and yeah, that happened. Yeah. My name is Evan Reed, the guy your cousin complains about on Twitter. The logistics app, the private equity fund, the headlines. All of it but ring me at midnight, and I'm just a widower in a Gold Coast nursery, with spit up on my shirt, whispering, please, to a bottle that kept saying, no, my wife Lena was here, and then she wasn't a clot, a curtain, a resident with sorry stuck in his throat. The hospital sent me home with formula, because Sky never latched, and every feed turned into a loop. Tiny mouth, tiny hope, 30 seconds, of maybe then choking, then tears, then everything back down my chest, like the universe was making a joke out of me. The pediatrician's on-call nurse told me to bring her to the ER, and I heard the subtext. You can't do this, but the room where Lena died felt like an ocean. I couldn't walk into it again, so I stayed with my baby while her cry went from angry to thin, which is worse. Thin means losing her lips, dry, skin, papery, heartbeat aflutter against my palm, and I told her we'd figure it out while I did the math of failure in my head. At 11:58, a knock hit my door. Nobody knocks on that door. We do elevators and key fobs and assistance with calendars. I checked the camera and saw a woman in blue scrubs with a beat-up tote hair pulled back, eyes calm like she'd already decided this was going to end differently. I opened Mr. Reed, she said. I'm Tasha Brooks, lactation nurse north. Mercy, I was on the unit when your wife passed. I heard about your daughter. My brain felt like it was walking through mud. Consultants already came, I said. It didn't work, she nodded. Once I lost my son 4 weeks ago, stillborn. My body didn't get the memo. I still have milk. I can feed your baby if you'll let me. The wildest sentence I've ever heard at my door at midnight. And somehow the truest. I thought about optics, about billionaire hires, wet nurse and the internet circus then. Sky whimpered from the nursery, and every stupid thought burned off. Please, I said, help her. Tasha washed her hands like a ritual. Picked up my kid like she belonged in that moment, sat in the rocking chair Lena picked out and said, okay, little one, your body knows this part. Sky latched like she'd been waiting her whole life. 10 seconds of shock, then those tiny cheeks working a long sigh from somewhere deep, color moving back into her face like sunrise. My knees gave up and I slid down the wall and cried. She's eating, I whispered, like sound might scare it away. She was always hungry, Tasha said, eyes wet but steady now. She's being heard that night. I slept for the first time since everything broke. Morning was mercy, not cruelty, Sky breathing easy. 3 feeds kept down a rhythm, starting to tap on our walls. We made a plan feed every 2 to 3 hours, document everything, see Dr. Patel. I offered money, she waved it off. I insisted we compromised, like adults who both know value and dignity can sit at the same table. I asked if she could stay at least until Sky was truly out of danger. She looked at my daughter, then at me, then back at my daughter and said, I'll take a leave 3 months. She needs consistency. Same milk, same smells, same rhythm. If we're doing this, let's do it right. We turned the guest room into mission control. Nina, my assistant, ran point like a general with good manners. The apartment started smelling like coffee and clean laundry again. Dr. Patel blinked at the weight chart and said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Tasha shrugged like she hadn't just saved a life with her own body, and I started learning a language no boardroom ever taught me. The difference between a hunger cry and a tired cry, the way 2 a.m. can be holy, when the person in your arms finally exhales the kind of quiet that feels like hope. Word travels, in families and hospitals, in whatever ecosystem judgment breathes in. A week later, my in-laws landed from Madison with good coats and heavy opinions. Eileen saw sky and broke open. Frank clocked Tasha, and his jaw set like a door. We did. The polite hello, the careful pause, then he said, "We need to talk." Tasha took Sky to the nursery, and Frank leaned in like a man used to winning fights with tone. "We want what's best for our granddaughter. You can't possibly do this alone." I kept my voice level. "I'm not alone, you hired help," he said. "That's not a family. That's a stopgap. Come to Madison and live with us, or let Sky come to us. We'll raise her right." Eileen tried to soften it. "Honey, you're grieving. We're grieving. She needs a home with 2 parents." I looked at the door to the nursery, heard Tasha's soft humming, felt my jaw find steel. She has 2 adults giving her everything she needs. "You are not her parents," Frank shot back, and something old and sharp woke up in me, the part people confuse for arrogance, when really it's just, I'm done being underestimated. "She is my daughter," I said, "and she stays with me." His voice got colder. "If you won't be reasonable, we'll go to court." The word reasonable did a number on me. I swallow it from investors and columnists, not in my living room. "Then get out," I said. "You're welcome here as grandparents, as threats. You can use the hallway." The door closed on their promise of lawyers, and I stood very still so the rage could drain without hitting anything breakable. Tasha appeared, Sky against her shoulder. "They don't have a case," she said. "Sky is thriving. You're her father. Grief doesn't make you unfit. It makes you human." I wanted to believe her. I tried. But anyone who's ever been publicly judged knows optics can drown truth. And right then life decided to add a twist just to see what I was made of. Sky spiked a fever on a Wednesday, 101.7 to 102. 3 to the voice in my head saying, "Under 3 months, you go now." Hazard lights to St. Gabriel's, Tasha in the back, narrating breathing and color. Like a pilot, the ER moved fast, chest x-ray blood, a tiny IV in a hand that should only hold fingers. I stepped into the hall when she cried. "Because money doesn't buy you out of that sound," Dr. Alvarez said. "Pneumonia antibiotics, while cultures grew scary, not hopeless." The first night we watched oxygen numbers like stock tickers. Tasha stayed steady, hand on Sky's back, breath matching hers. At 10, the elevator opened, and my in-laws swept in like weather. "What happened?" Eileen asked, panic, honest for once. "How does a healthy baby end up in the hospital?" Frank demanded, making it sound like an indictment. "Because viruses exist, Dr. Alvarez said, not looking up from the monitor. "And because these 2 brought her in fast, there's no negligence here." Frank stared Tasha down. "And who are you to speak? The person who feeds her 6 times a day and knows the difference between her fussy noise and her hungry one," she said without blinking. "You're welcome to love her. You don't get to call me a stranger in the room I haven't left for 36 hours. The doctor cleared the room. Only parents. Visiting hours later. We watched them leave through glass, and I finally said the fear out loud. "They'll use this to prove I can't keep her safe." Tasha's hand found the back of my neck like an anchor. "They can try, but evidence is louder than fear." Day 3, the fever broke. Sky latched again, weak but stubborn. Tasha cried into soft hair. "You're a fighter," she whispered. And I believed her. The relief tasted like cold water after the storm. Then the papers hit anyway. Temporary custody hearing. The petition called Tasha a domestic employee. Like we were doing something dirty, said. I was a single father with a high-pressure job who couldn't provide a stable home. I brought everything: growth charts, feeding logs, Dr. Patel's notes, photos of sky alert at 5 a.m. And I brought Tasha. She took the stand with her folder and her calm and answered clean, Mr. Reed sought care promptly. Sky surpassed her birth weight, milestones. Appropriate here. Are the logs? Frank's lawyer tried to rattle her. Do you think it's appropriate to blur professional boundaries by living in a patient's home? I didn't blur anything, she said. I took a leave. I informed my supervisor. I am not assigned to this case. I'm a mother who lost a child with milk. Her body kept making, and I chose to use it to keep a baby alive. Call that inappropriate. If you want. I call it human. The judge peered over his glasses. Do you have evidence of neglect or harm? The other side shuffled, offered optics and opinions. The judge tapped his pen. Hiring qualified help is responsible parenting petition, dismissed. That gavel didn't just drop it. Lifted a weight I'd been holding in my ribs since the first bottle. That night, in a quiet kitchen, I put 2 mugs down and the other truth on the table. I love you, I told Tasha. Not because you saved us, because of how you did it. Steady, honest, no spotlight. I don't want this to be an accident. I want it to be on purpose. She held my eyes and said, I love you too. Simple. As yes, I didn't have a ring. I had sincerity and a nursery down the hall. I went to one knee anyway. Stay not as the help as family, she said. Yes, with tears and a laugh that shook something loose in me. Months later, in a small garden in Evanston. We said vows, Nina cried through the whole thing. Dr. Patel brought a stuffed alpaca. Eileen whispered. We were wrong. Frank shook my hand. Like a man who finally laid down a weapon, Sky reached for Tasha and said, Mama clear as a bell, and 5 adults lost it. If you want a bow on top, you could end it there, but life likes a last page that makes you talk back. 2 weeks after the wedding, an anonymous complaint hit the state nursing board. Said Tasha violated boundaries by providing private lactation care in the home of a wealthy client, who later became her spouse. Asked for a review. The internet did what it does. Hero, gold digger, saint, sinner, same thread. We sat at our table with the letter and a mug she didn't drink from, and she said, I followed the rules that matter. Feed the hungry kid, tell the truth, keep the receipts. We packed the folder. Logs, approvals, emails to her supervisor, pediatric notes, and decided to show up, not with PR, with evidence. Walking into that room, I realized I'm not the cold headline anymore. I'm Sky's dad, holding a photo like a talisman next to a woman who bet her career and her heart on the messy kind of kindness. And here's where I hand it to you. Who was right? The grandparents who mistook grief for a roadmap. The nurse who broke protocol to save a life. The dad who couldn't step back into the room where his wife died. The judge who said resources aren't a sin. Or the strangers in the comments who decided we were a story they could argue over lunch. Drop your verdict below. Tell me where the line is between rules and mercy, help and dependency, blood family and the kitchen family. You make it midnight. And if you've ever been underestimated and proved people wrong, or watched someone do the right thing the hard way and pay for it, share that too. Hit subscribe. If this hit something true, because someone scrolling at midnight might need the courage you're about to write.